Hello again, traders, and welcome out. This is Honkit from Currencies, and this is a market recap for Monday, January the 9th. Let's take a look at the markets. Let's break it down, what we discussed in the currency room over the weekend, and take a look at how the markets developed today so we can set up a game plan for the upcoming 24 hours. So let's start with the market analysis and see how the market performed today. So as we look at the markets on Friday, we looked at markets and say, well, we have more bullish case scenario than bearish case scenario. We did break out above this low range, and that was a bit more on the bullish side. But you can see that today's candlestick is not as exciting. This is a reversal candle. We rallied. We had a nice 1% gain in the markets, and then it reversed. And it kind of ended up closing flat to slightly negative. So that's not a good sign for any bulls out there that's trying to figure out if this is really getting out of this little downward trend. So overall, we are still in this grand scheme of things of a downward trend line. So we are not really out of this downward trend, and that's why we talked about how we are going to be slightly bullish to slightly bearish. This is not the time to go full-on bearish and bullish because we don't have that market velocity yet. But as the market develops into this year, we'll probably have a better idea where the markets are going. But right now, we went from a slightly bullish market to a slightly bearish. Now, taking a look at the percentage change today, you can see that the S&P, even though it just shows as a 0.08% down, almost a flat market day, most of that price action was intraday, where we had those gains and we actually gave up those gains. We had the VT that's up slightly, 0.26%, so definitely a little bit more relative strength across in the world markets. Crypto has a decent day today. Again, not a surprise. We get these off days in cryptos where either it's really strong or it's really weak. But outside of that, gold was slightly positive, and oil actually had a nice little gain today. So we had a decent start of this week. Again, this is an important week because we get U.S. inflation figures this week. But outside of that, I think the markets are still kind of figuring it out which way it wants to break out. If we take a look at the world stock index, you can see that we're just closing off this moving average here, the 200 moving average. So we're still not out of the woods yet. That's where we are. We're not out of the woods yet. And I think this is the market can easily derail or rally at the same time. We just stuck in this little range bound price action here. So we just have to be a little bit more cautious, especially if you're looking at markets or looking at follow through. We might not get a follow through as easily. If you are in this run like this, that's where you really need to look at markets on a day-to-day basis. But notice that this is not that kind of price action. So make sure you're using the right strategy for this kind of price action. Now, the crypto markets, you can see in a grand scheme of things, if you just take a look at November till now, this thing hasn't gone anywhere. So this is in this little resistance area, but I am not really looking to stick my neck out and say, well, this is going to break out because it has failed many, many times. So now taking a look at the overall market outlook, we're still sitting at a -1. Like I said, we are still in a downtrend, but we are not at the lows, but we are kind of stuck in the middle here. So eventually, when we break out one way or the other, we'll have a better idea. But meanwhile, look for this range price action. A couple of days here and there, I think that's how the market's going to move. Maybe we'll have a better breakout on Thursday when we have the US CPI. So if you take a look at the schedule, we actually have we had the Fed Chair Powell that's speaking tomorrow. We have the Aussie CPI tomorrow, but what I'm really looking forward to is the US CPI. I think this is going to spark a lot bigger move, especially if the number comes out way below expectation or it comes out way above expectation. That's where we'll probably have a bigger move. Until then, I think the market is likely to stay in this little range-bound price action. So let's take a look at currency analysis, take a look at what's moving and what we need to pay attention to. So let's just start with the cryptocurrency. As you can see that today was a decent day, not in the Bitcoin. Bitcoin was still a little bit on the lower end, but we had the Bitcoin Cash up 2.32, Ethereum, Litecoin. So overall, like I said, we had these days where it might look exciting, but it just lacks that consistency or a follow through. Now, when we take a look at market price action in currencies, notice that the dollar and the yen, even though they're negatively correlated right now, you can see the difference. This is down 0.23. It's actually down 0.48. But overall, there seems to be kind of following the suit here. And as far as the relative strength goes, usually we see relative strength in the growth currencies like the Aussie, Kiwi, and the CAD. Notice that CAD was slightly down and Kiwi was slightly down. They were down more, 0.08%. That's a very tiny move. So they were just mostly flat. And then we have relative strength in the Aussie. But it was definitely up a lot more during the day. But as the market gave up gains, we saw the Aussie turn lower, Kiwi showing relative weakness. So the growth currency is not where the money is going. The money is going into the European currency. So something to pay attention to. In the last, 2-3 months, we have seen growth currencies really do well, and these European currencies suffer. I mean, Swiss franc is really an exemption here because Swiss franc has done overall really well. But again, it seems like euro and pound is also kind of coming up in the lead as well. So the question is this a one-day move, or do we need to look at the markets on a day-to-day basis and then talk about maybe a different outlook for next 24 hours? So let's take a look at possible trades ahead and make a determination if we have something worthwhile to take a look at. So I'm actually going to talk about intraday charts today because you can see how things were looking a lot bullish. And if you were early in the day today, I mean, you can see where the price action was. We had a very nice high base pattern. And of course, we got a breakout this morning. And just midday, we started to kind of give back the gains. And you can see that for the rest of the day, it just gave back the gains. So from the top to bottom, if you look at the percentage change, this was a 1.5% move. So this is a big move. So whenever you have a run happen and totally reverses like this, it's not a good sign. So right now you can see that seems to be just a fake breakout and it's just falling back within the range. So personally speaking, I'm looking at these markets, looking to trade the range until something happens or something changes. Now, when we take a look at movements, take a look at intraday movements in currencies like the dollar, you can see that there was some strength as the market kind of weakened. We saw the dollar kind of gained. So same thing happened with the yen, market weakened, and we saw some gains here. On the other hand, we had the Aussie, which was stronger, but it gave the gains back. And same thing with the Kiwi. It was strong, but then it gave back. This is actually looking a lot more weaker to me. You can see that this was stronger overnight, but then all morning this has been weak. So, and the Canadian dollar, lastly, continues to be a volatile currency. Notice that every time it rallies up, it has a big fall, and it's just been sideways for the most part of the day. So, not really getting a whole lot of consistency out of the CAD. And I think this is where maybe we need to take a look at some of the European currencies, maybe getting some consistency here. But notice that it's not really as clear either. This is Swiss franc. You can see that overall, this thing has not been a biggest mover. But it does give you a good opportunity on a day-to-day basis, nothing consistent basis. We have the euro, which had a nice day today. But if I go longer term, you'll notice that this thing is also kind of stuck in this range here. So this is, again, a good indication to you that look at the markets on a day-to-day basis instead of trying to figure out the next big move, because maybe we're stuck in this little range until we can break out one with the other. So when we're looking for a directional trade, let's go Kiwi is a good example. This is what the direction is. When it started to bottom and it just rallied up. Notice that price index kind of given up as well. And look at that rally, sold off today. Not a good sign for any of the Kiwi bulls. So again, this is the kind of price action you're looking for if you want to get a consistency in that move. But right now, that's not the case. Look at the Aussie, which was an outperformer. But if I just look at it from a technical standpoint, Aussie basket just closed right at the top of the resistance. So at this point, if I am really looking at this, I would rather play a reversal off this resistance rather than a breakout, because that's the setup that we are currently in right now. And then Kiwi, I think it looks a little bit more weaker to me. And if I just draw some of the trend lines here, this thing is a little bit more making a lower high and a lower low. So not really excited to play this on the long side. And CAD, I would say I'm more sideways on it. Again, there has been some runs in between. Look at the daily chart price action. We got a nice wide range. There's a lot of back and forth. So this is not clear buy or clear sell. It has a good opportunity for a short term, but that's pretty much it. Now, pound has been in this downtrend. It looks like it's trying to rally up a little bit, and same thing goes with the euro. So as we go in the next 24 hours, I'm totally going in with a bit of a blank slate and trying to look at where's the next move likely to happen. I do like the way market closed today, so I think The dollar could have a bit of a recovery because this is sitting at this range here. If I just look at the range, this is at the bottom of the range. So we could see a bit of a rally or a shorter term rally that will take us to the top end of the range. So I like that play on the dollar. And then yen, you can see that each time it's kind of rallied and pulled back, it has been a decent buying opportunity. Is that the case now? I think if you take a look at the chart here, I'm not really seeing a buy yet. But if it does break out of this downtrend, then we can kind of look for that. But right now, if we take a look at the dollar and the yen, they're kind of doing the similar thing. They do rally one time. One will take a lead more than the other, you can see. But overall, this is going sideways as well. So I think a dollar yen likely to consolidate here in this pair. So it means that maybe the dollar yen kind of have a similar performance across the board. So what I like next 24 hours, Aussie dollar on the short side. Look at that massive run that we got last week on Friday. The market's kind of giving up some gains here. And if this is ready to give up some gains, I think what I need to look for is a breakdown of the support area and then looking for a stair step towards the downside. Now, same thing with the Kiwi dollar. I actually like Kiwi definitely much better than the Aussie. I mean, this is showing relative weakness. I mean, this is already below the moving average. So Kiwi dollar would be also on my list as well. Again, these will be slow moving trades, but notice that there's a bit of a lag. Market reverse, but these things did not, which again is telling me that maybe we see a bit of a catch up in the Asian session. So this is what really I'm looking into markets. Very smaller, narrow amount of trades that we really have in moving right now. I know we had a nice movement in some of the Swiss franc crosses and the euro crosses. The question is, can we get a continuation? So I will have to look for some pullbacks to really buy into, but right now it looks like it's extended a little bit. I would like to see a bit of a shorter term pullback, but right now you can see that little mini pullbacks in between, and consistency right now it's more to the upside, but I would rather like to see a little bit on the sideways trend before we break out one way or the other. So no guarantee euro will be the big mover. I personally think that the dollar could maybe make a recovery overnight, so I'll be looking at dollar. I'll be taking a look at the yen, and again, both the Aussie dollar, Kiwi dollar, Aussie yen, and Kiwi yen. So those are the pairs that I have it on my list here, and I'll be looking at those. Again, as always, make sure you're keeping a close eye on the markets. If the Asian markets are weaker, then you know exactly what to trade. If the markets are rallying in the Asian session, then we might see a bit of a delayed price action when what we're looking at. We might see the dollar kind of take a bit of a pause before it try to make a recovery. So that's the game plan here. In conclusion, market outlook remains uncertain. So we have to really look for the markets on a day-to-day basis, and overnight, looking for some risk-off moves. Focus on currency in play and make sure you have a proper position sizing. This is just the start of the year. Again, no rush. There will be plenty of opportunities. Make sure you have a right position sizing so you have enough opportunity to make, take future positions as well, and not really going after one position at a big lead after one position. There'll be plenty of opportunities. Thanks everyone for joining. Enjoy. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you in the next update. Cheers.